All right, so welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about a major trick in HubSpot. Like this is something that is really important. We're going to give you like 5 quick tips to really improve your marketing and sales emails. And at the end of the video, we're going to also give you an extra bonus. So my name's Scott. As part of HubSpot, we're focused on really working out these new AI technologies and how they can be implemented and how they impact your RevOps. And here's James.
Yeah, I'm James. I'm the other co-founder of HubSpot, and I'm gonna be focusing on the application of those techniques into HubSpot with some live demos at the end.
Awesome. So let's get into this. You can see my screen?
Yep.
So just to mention, we're a platinum partner here, and the topic using AI to create dynamic sales content. So this is definitely not limited to just sales content. It's marketing, cold prospecting, all the way through the model. So in terms of the RevOps, this is really fitting into both the improving your GTM strategy and then building upon your GTM strategy to really kind of refine and fix it into the value of your messaging in your company. So what are we talking about here? So in terms of HubSpot best practice, they normally talk about brand voice and persona. So with AI, with the power of AI, we're able to go to a new level, a whole new level. So brand voice brings us how you want to talk to your customers. And HubSpot provides the tools about the tonality, how authoritative you want to talk. And we'll get into that example, but it's really the top level that we have. The next level is the persona. So think of the persona as it's a group of people, which is part of a buyer journey. So within each email, you have obviously the product you're trying to sell, the customer problem you're trying to solve, and the group of people that fit into that part of the journey. And as part of that kind of persona and buyer's journey, you'll contain a whole bunch of meta information, which is why am I sending this email? What is my call to action? Am I trying to educate? Am I trying to inform? So create a rapport. So this persona in the buyer journey is all about the meta, the purpose of what you're trying to achieve in your emails and your communication. Now with AI, we can take that persona to a next level. So we can use the brand voice, we can use the persona as the general meta, and now we can use the person as well. So especially with AI bots, AI agents, ChatGPT, we're able to look at customer on an individual level. We're really able to drill in. So we can look at their LinkedIn profiles, their social media profiles, the emails that they've written in the past, and we can now gather that information. That information can be used to that user. So what's better, to have a general customer problem that you know about and you're going to write a general email to that group of people? Or do we know the specific information? Do we know the specific industry that person in? So we can use industry, the right industry words. Do we know what problem they have? So can we look at the kind of problems that exist in that market? What is that person actually talking about? And not only that, what is their network talking about? So we can get into a lot of details about the person. And this change really means that our marketing and our sales emails, especially even in the automation, become extremely personalized. So when we talk about that, we can talk about, as a prospect, we can talk about the data sources. Where can we get this information about the people that we're trying to sell from? To prospect to. So intelligent agents, we're able to start looking at things like news feeds, what is happening in their industry, what's happening to their company, and specific details. LinkedIn, looking at the person's activities, looking at the company's activities, and LinkedIn being any other social media that can exist. So starting to feed in information, SpyFu or other kind of advertisement tools where you can look at how the company is advertising and how they identify their customer problem. So advertisement tells you a lot about a company and how they kind of identify. And we can look at other things from different financial websites in terms of changing job roles and different like rounds of funding and other things like that. So there's a whole bunch of data sources that we can start pulling in about the customers. And this can all be automatic. So matching the customer by email, by name to these different sources to start building out information sources. So information sources alone is not so useful because information sources are generally unstructured. And for HubSpot to act on certain things, we need to construct some meaning out of it. So here we talk about the 3 types of core top-level data sources, which is the customer behavior. What are they doing? What are their activities? What are they posting? What information are they talking about? Their network, who is influencing them, who is related in a company-wise, who is their influencer, who are they following? All these kind of details about their network around them. So we have the person, the network, and then we have the market. So how is that person interacting with their company, interacting with the market? So looking at competitors, marketing change, news about the market. So this information can all be automated and aggregated. So generally using intelligent agents, we're able to aggregate this information and then place it in from unstructured to some type of structure. So what do we need? So as a salesperson, what is structured for you? It could be actual numbers like scoring of specific topics, likelihood of customer problem, potential threats, etc. Or it could be something more compounded, like what is the expression of a customer problem related to a product or other key information around that. So normally an agent will look at this information, it'll convert it from unstructured to structured, which is either numbers or it's going to be something like a JSON file, which is then fed into HubSpot. So HubSpot can intelligently act upon it and make this not only write customized content that make decisions about where that person exists as a persona and where they exist in their buyer journey. So this topic is super exciting, and we're seeing customers using it already with huge advantages of really getting down to the person. So we're going to show you how we set this up in HubSpot and give you the secrets on how other customers are getting huge advantages from using this technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot emphasize enough how much of a game changer this is, because this amount of data processing, your marketing team, your sales team would never be able to do this manually. With the sort of the concept of standard personas, yes, you can sort of put people into one of maybe 5 to 7 categories, but you can never go down to the individual level as a marketer. And on the sales side, yes, you could go away and do your research on individual, but you're very much limited by capacity there, and you can only do that for so many people. Whereas here we can have the technology doing that in the background for a large group of prospects and highlighting the people and taking the actions. But let's go starting with the very basic parts of this here. Some of these items I'm going to demo here are quick wins that you can just go and set up in your HubSpot right now. And one of those really quick ones is the brand voice. So let's go to my HubSpot demo account, and under the settings in account defaults and branding, we have the new beta feature for brand voice set up. So the idea here is that we are sort of defining in our HubSpot portal for a particular brand some information about our business that we can then have HubSpot use to customize the content that it generates for us later down the line. So see, it's asking a couple of different questions here. First thing it's asking us for is a writing sample, so like a set of content that's going to give HubSpot an idea of the way that we write our content and so that the emotion we portray from that and so on. So I've just gone ahead and basically scraped a lot of the content from our homepage, and I'm putting that into here now. And that goes in, and then obviously that's website content, but you can give various types of sample content here as long as you have a decent amount of it. I'm then going to give a brief summary of who our target audience is, which in our case is companies that know that AI is important but need some help from an AI specialist to know the best way to apply that to their growth goals. So
I think the good thing here is it's got those little hovers, right, giving you some good examples of how to express that correctly.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I went straight to this the first time I was playing with this because it is very specific what they're asking for, and you want to sort of try and present that in the right way. But once you've dropped that in there, hit next. It's then going to talk to the AI in the background and analyze the content you've provided and give a few recommendations in terms of personality and tone that it thinks is reflective of the content that you've given it as a sample. You can customize this if you don't think it's quite right, or if you want to add something else in there on top of that that you think reflects your brand. And then once you've done that, you hit done. You can then give it a little bit of extra context here in terms of the company mission, which I'll just drop in here. And you do have the option to decide which of the different channels, which there are 4 in HubSpot, that this brand voice is going to be taken into account when HubSpot is generating content for you. So then once you've got your brand voice set up, the next thing you could look at is content generation within HubSpot. So in this instance, I'm going to do that from the perspective of an email template for a sales email, but the same rule applies for if you're building like social posts or website page content. This tool is available in all of those. So I'm going to go and create a new email from scratch, but rather than starting writing it out from scratch, I'm going to hit generate template, and then it's going to bring up this content generation form here with a few different questions that are going to help it tailor the email. So I'm going to go ahead and try and write a cold outreach email about our RevOps AI workshop, which I'll talk a little bit more about at the end of this video. So it's obviously is a RevOps AI workshop. We're targeting at founders and growth executives. And then here's a couple of lines of information about what the value is of that. And then I'm going to choose the tone I want to apply to this particular email, or I can choose multiple. And it's then going to generate that content for me. And there we have it. And if I don't like it, I can just hit regenerate, and it will cut with something else. Or I can go back and add some more information and iterate it.
So
iterate what I'm providing.
I think it's important to note. So earlier we're talking about that brand voice being the top level, and the next one is the persona level with the meta information. So even though we didn't talk about the brand voice, in the background, it's already factoring in that brand voice. It's factoring in that we're bold, and I forget the other descriptions that HubSpot selected for us, but
yeah,
it's written in that style and that tone here.
Exactly. So that's what we get out of HubSpot in terms of generation of content. So we've gone through 2 layers so far, but let's take this down one more layer and go straight to ChatGPT. So with this piece of content that we're going to generate, we're going to be trying to tailor this to a specific person. So what I'm going to be doing now, if I go over to ChatGPT, is I'm going to be asking it to write me the same thing I've just asked HubSpot to write, a cold outreach email about our RevOps AI workshop. I'm giving it the same context about the values of the service. But in this case, I am going to be writing this to the CEO of HubSpot, just as an example here. So we basically pulled from her LinkedIn profile a summary of who she is and what she stands for and what she does, which ChatGPT is going to interpret and take into account when tailoring this email specifically to her. So I'll drop that in there. And as you see, it's now writing an email to Yamini based on those inputs. So now we've gone from HubSpot writing an email which reflects our brand voice and is targeted to the audience that we've defined when generating the template, to one where we're actually writing something that's specifically for an individual, taking into account who they are as an individual. So that's where we're now going past those original personas that we used in HubSpot.
And I think to add to that, in this example, for simplicity, we're just showing the about description from LinkedIn, but actually we can pull from the post that she's been talking about, articles she's written or co-written, comments on other people's posts. So this goes well beyond just the about that she's pushed here. We can grab a lot of knowledge about her and what's currently happening in her environment to customize that information.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, I've just pulled the summary in the interests of it being like a quick win. Obviously, this is something that you could just do manually in some cases to prepare some emails to send out, just to really get a feel for how this works. But the next level we're going to be taking it to is sort of going beyond that. Yes, Scott.
Oh, I was going to say, even with the general information, you can see a huge improvement between the generic HubSpot generated content to just the about is already, light years. It's using her terminology. She loves to talk about business funnels and things like this, and all these other kind of, performing teams and stuff. This is using her terminology now. So now it's written the way she wrote it, right? So creating that level of rapport and that focus, imagine that on a marketing email or a sales email. Like, you're getting an email, but it's not just this generic thing anymore. It's actually the person actually
Really
spent
appealing to
time.
you.
Exactly.
So where do we really go from here? I mean, of course, the natural place to go from here is to be able to do what we've just done manually at scale. So for this, we would need to do a bit of custom code and things like that within. In this case, I'm using Ops Hub Pro. You might recognize this workflow from one of our previous videos in that, but I'll sort of give you a breakdown of how it started and then how this builds into content generation. So this goes back to our diagram here, where we're collecting data from different sources. We're structuring that data into a way that can be interpreted and scored, and then put into HubSpot to trigger a workflow and to help that workflow work in a certain way. So we're taking behavioral data from, say, the CEO of HubSpot's profile, or from all of our prospects' profiles, and from what they're posting, what they're commenting on, etc. We're in the AI in the background is going through that. It is working out what the strong intent signs in terms of our product offering and what our customer problems we solve that's hitting onto. Like, if they're focusing on something that aligns with one of our customer problems that we solve, then it will be scoring higher based on that. And that information is then being funneled into HubSpot as structured data. HubSpot in the custom code is then interpreting that. It's picking up when someone is showing through all the content funneling in a particularly high intent for one of our customer problems, for which we've just defined 3 examples here. And when that reaches a certain threshold, then we're taking someone down a path and then sending them customized content. But what we're adding to this here is what gets this really interesting. So what we have happening then in the custom code is that it's going to take everything that that person has been talking about in relation to that subject that has triggered the intent of this flow in the first place, and it is going to distill that down into a completely unique piece of content, targeting them about that particular custom problem and how we can solve it for them. So it's basically writing an email like this from the perspective all of the high intent data, customer behavior data that has been captured around that customer problem that we're trying to solve. It's writing an email and it's then dropping that onto the HubSpot contact. That content can then be used as a token within a purely custom marketing email that's sent through the automation. It could be the whole email. It could be a part of the email. In this example here, it's kind of more catered towards when it's a part of the email, because we could have like sort of half standard emails for hiring, retention, and succession planning customer problems, and then drop in some highly targeted text that's really related to that person at the top of that to capture their attention.
And just, I think, just to remind you, like in our last video, these were topics in a HCM, a human capital management system. So that's where these topics are. They're not, so they would be your functional areas or your customer problems that you're solving. So in HubSpot, that might be Marketing Hub, Content Hub, blah, 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 would be these top level categories. In a human capital management system, they're these ones. So these are things that you define as your top level topics that you're going to be wanting to customize on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like these are our different customer problems that we solve. Here's an email targeted at that customer problem, but then on top of that, there's something very specific to the individual who we're targeting on that customer problem. So this is sort of the extent that you can go to with this, and we can still then put them into ad audiences or do any other kind of marketing on top of that. But it just lets you go to that high degree of personalization and get as good an engagement as possible with this content whilst hitting the person at exactly the right time. So anything to add to that, Scott, before I move on?
Yeah, I think it's it's a must. I think this is a must for people to start considering and thinking about. And when we talk about those data groups, the behavior, the network, the competition, this will really help align between, from the cold prospecting through to the marketing, through to the sales, through to the customer success. So we're not only are we gathering this information that's designed to customize the email, this custom information needs to be handed off to each of those teams as well. So there's that consistent messaging happening, but customized consistent messaging, really nailing into that person's needs. So even those data sources can be beyond, like if they respond to your cold prospecting email, or you had a meeting with a transcript, all this information can be fed in and then fed back into the email for further customization. So it's all taking that unstructured data to structured data. It's really exciting. You know, ChatGPT has really opened, and Gemini have really opened up this ability to go from unstructured information to highly structured to highly targeted information.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, I mean, as you can tell, this is a particular area that we're very enthusiastic about, and with good reason. This is definitely a game changer in what you can achieve. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to remind everyone about our AI workshop, our RevOps AI workshop that we're offering, that really follows on from this and the many other things that we are teaching you in this series. So basically, this workshop is taking what we're teaching you now and applying it to your business. To give you a bit of a brief summary, we go in and do a review of your whole process from marketing, sales to success, your whole journey within your organization. We identify some quick wins, such as the quick wins I was just showing you, where you can make some improvements towards your RevOps growth goals. And we also do a deep dive and looking at the areas of friction within your business and within your whole customer journey to see where we can find areas for longer term improvements, and help you to forecast and see what difference that's going to make in terms of your growth goals in the long run, and as that compounds over time. So if you want to start learning about how you can apply all of these ideas specific to your business and the best things to focus on, then this workshop is definitely for you, and it can help you jumpstart into the right direction. So if you want to get involved in that, then we'll put a link in the description below, and we can have a chat a bit more about what that would involve and get that set up. And please like and subscribe if you're enjoying our content, because we're gonna keep pushing out these things over the next weeks and months.
All right. Thank you. Catch you in the
Thanks,
next
everyone.
one.
Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.